We're going.
We're gone. We're going. Gone. It's been a while. We're back. This is episode 223 of the Herpetoculture podcast. Brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. You need a rack? You need a cage? Look at that wall of greatness Jake has going on behind him there. If you're watching this,
Even though they're white racks, I call it the black wall because it's literally from side to side. There's no space. I couldn't fit another thing over there. It's entirely black box.
Look at how clean it is. Look at how sharp that looks.
It's all black box, and I have at least one of every rack I think they sell. So
you heard it here. It's BlackBox.
Black box.
A bit of that Wisconsin accent coming out there, buddy.
It's blackbacks.
Have you been to Culver's yet?
Yeah, of course I have.
First opening day?
Yes, I was there Tuesday. So apparently they did a soft opening on Monday, but Tuesday me and Dad went there and got lunch. And that was like their grand opening. So
you walking in soft, you ain't leaving soft though.
It was funny. Me and Dad ordered, and he was, and the lady checking us out was like, "Y'all been here before?" And we're like, "Oh yeah."
I was born in one of these. I was consummated in one of these.
My mom was actually eating a butter burger when she gave birth. No, it was good
Popped
though.
Out on a plate of cheese curds.
Dude, I still remember when we were on the way back from Daytona. Danielle was like, "You won't order our entire order in a Wisconsin accent," and I said, "Bet."
Not even a dare.
Like, yeah. She was like, "You won't," and I was like, "Okay," and I did.
And the people there were like, "Dude, just order the fucking food."
They didn't bat an eye, dude. All I did was order the food. I just did it in my accent.
Or me, I'd be like, "Okay, can I get you anything else?"
They didn't bat an eye, dude. My accent is so on par. They didn't even know.
It's a weird flex.
It's not a flex. It's just a fact. Look,
I haven't been yet because usually, Buford is a small town.
Oh, dude,
not as much as it used to be. New restaurant opens up. It's best to wait like 3 or 4 weeks before you even bother trying to go because it's going to be so busy because it's something new and different that the line gets nuts. Like Cookout, I think it was like a month before I even went to Cookout after it opened.
Cookout didn't last long because Cookout's low key trash.
It's not terrible. It's cheap.
It's not. You get a lot of food for a very low price, but there's a reason for that. I ate Cookout like twice, and I was like, all right, I'm good.
It's like Little Caesars. People complain about Little Caesars. It's like, first of all, it's a $5 pizza.
Little Caesars friggin' smacks.
What are we, like, if we're comparing it to like Papa John's, like, of course it's not going to touch it. But it's also a $5 pizza. It's hot. It's ready. They never said anything about it being good or having to be like life-changing. It's a hot and ready $5 pizza. And it's pretty damn good for being $5 and hot and ready.
You know what else is hot and ready in 6 to 8 weeks, Justin?
Oh, I was like,
BlackBox cages. We're going back because we got off track there.
Started talking about Culver's.
Yes. BlackBox cages, man. Best.
Use the code THN25 at checkout. Get a discount.
Save yourself a little bit of dough.
But then you double down on the savings. Choose pickup at checkout. And you don't have to worry about shipping. You don't have to worry about UPS or FedEx playing football with your packages and stuff. Or dragging it behind their trucks, because sometimes I think that's what they do.
And you can go down with that money you save. You can go get yourself some Culver's,
and you can buy more BlackBox with it.
That's right.
So
now, in all seriousness, best of the best, man. When it comes to PVC, I know like some people are more into like the metal, racks, and stuff. And I don't know when it
cost like 3 of my mortgage.
Exactly. With PVC, it's lightweight, it's easily movable. And it's a fantastic product. We all stand by them severely. And even if you are worried about weight, say you get a bigger system, because some of their systems, because that's the other thing, they don't use cheap, thin PVC.
Yeah,
it's just this is 3/4 inch PVC. It's not that 1/2 inch, really thin stuff that's super flexible. This is 3/4 inch PVC, so it's a little bit thicker. It can be heavier when you get some of their systems. Me and Justin both got the XR.
When you add the tubs, it definitely adds some weight.
Yeah, it definitely adds some weight. But if you're like me and Justin, and when you get a new system, sometimes you got to move around the room. You can get casters for all your systems, so you can easily wheel them around the room. That was a mistake I made with my first couple things. I got the what do they call it?
The toe kick.
Toe kick. I got toe kicks for some of mine. Not going back to that. Casters all the way makes it 10 times easier to move around, especially if you're like me and you got carpet in your snake room. Makes it so much easier to move around. Very easy to install. Definitely recommend the casters if you're going to be moving around. If you're in more of a permanent situation, the toe kicks are great. So I do like the toe kicks for, say, a snake hops out of the tub and goes to dive under the rack.
It ain't diving under the toe kick.
It ain't diving under the toe kick. If you have casters, yeah, but again, you can easily move them out of the way if that happens.
Toe kick gives you an extra 1.5 seconds to get it before it takes off.
Yeah. So just, from personal experience, luckily I haven't had that happen. But for me, I'm moving around the snake room a lot because I'm limited space. But so the casters are definitely the move going forward. And I don't think they really push them on their site, but if you ask, you can also get the casters for cages as well. Mine just sit straight on the carpet because the cages are a little lighter, easier to move around. But if you message them, I'm sure they can get you hooked up with some casters or toe kicks for cages as well. But best of the best PVC in the market. Very, very flexible with what they can do, especially with their cages. Gives you a lot of different options. And you can get white or black.
You'll be hard pressed to find something that doesn't fit what you need it for.
Yeah.
The only sort of, what's the word? I don't know what. If you're looking for like a room size enclosure, you're not going to find that anywhere else but a room.
Yeah, but they do have up to 8-foot enclosures.
Yeah.
They've got big cages. They're pretty much almost anything you can imagine with a PVC cage or rack.
You can dream it, you can do it.
Yes. So hit them up. You won't be disappointed. And remember to use that code THP or THN25.
Speaking of dreams, Steve Snaketuary's Venom Hot Sauce. Get the whole set. Steve does good stuff. If you're getting that hot sauce, whether it's one or all of them, you can collect the whole set. You're helping Steve. Steve does a lot of rehabilitations, some relocations, tons of public outreach. I think I saw a post today where he was doing, I think it was a class that talked about some rattlesnakes. And I don't know if it was a handling class for like local first responders or if it was sort of just a general like explanation of native venomous and stuff like that. But I saw rattlesnakes, I saw tubes, I saw hooks. Man's putting in the work. So get the hot sauce, stevesnaketuary.com. And then the only thing that tops off PVC cages and hot sauce is shirts. And you get that at fulviusapparel.com. Use the code THN. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you, and it gets you 15% off your order. Nothing really new there. I'm trying to think if I put a Boland's shirt up a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we've recorded since I put that up, but that's up there. A Day Gecko shirt, new Day Gecko shirt. Good Lord. And then I put up one the other day that I just made me giggle, and it was the average phallic length of dudes who kill snakes, and
that was funny.
An inch. It's tiny. You almost have to like squint just to see the ruler.
I was surprised when I saw that on on your page. I was like, dang.
Also available as a coffee mug.
He really went for the kill shot on that one. That was good. I like that.
We're all thinking it.
And we're all thinking
Just
it.
saying it.
Yeah. I recently did a Fulvius order myself. And
yeah.
May
the magic of the Masticophis shirt happen?
I didn't put the Masticophis shirt to test yet. The day I was wearing it up in Jack's place, we were supposed to go to the Sandhills where Masticophis were potentially an option.
No, the Masticophis magic doesn't happen strictly for Masticophis.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I wear the shirt and Sky wears a shirt. We almost always end up finding stuff, not at the same time.
I was banking on wearing it in the Sandhills in the upstate, but the day we were supposed to go, weather was horrible. It was not cooperating, so we decided to go to the zoo instead. So haven't been able to test it in the field, but we're getting there.
You trap Jack in the Burmese python enclosure like in Harry Potter,
right? Yeah, but I did test the that boa shirt you have. It survived me diving in the water after a Midland/Northern water snake. So it's been good. I also have a picture of myself wearing that with the biggest river cooter I've ever seen.
You take pictures with Jack all the time.
Yeah. Did I send you a picture of that, didn't I?
I don't think you did.
I didn't?
Nope.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
No. Oh, wait. Yeah, you did. Because I remember seeing that and I was like, God damn, that thing's huge.
The thing was like two dinner plates.
That was massive.
I swear to God, this thing was that big. It was. Dude, I swear we walked up on this thing.
I grab it and it didn't take off underwater with you attached to it.
Well, it was in a ditch. Like there was really no water.
It was like a mini jet ski.
Dude, it was freaking Bowser walking down a ditch, dude. It was huge. And yeah, so I got a picture of me holding that in my my boa constrictor shirt, that old school style.
The vintage vault.
I like those a lot. Those are probably my favorite shirts you do, the vintage stuff.
I mean, it's either those or puns. So,
well, you know I'm going to go for the vintage ones.
You kind of have two options, buddy.
Yeah, dude, that I swear, I think the one I hate the most is the Piggly Wiggly one.
Really? Because I put that one up the other day too, and it's actually done really well. Just
I
put it up. So
I hate it.
That's one of my favorites.
God, it's hilarious, and I love it.
It's hilarious down here in the South because Piggly Wiggly, like, there's only a couple left in existence, and like a lot of Southern people are like, "Why is Piggly Wiggly spelled that way?" And you have to explain it to them, and you see their eyes just kind of glaze over, like, "What?"
Yeah,
it's like you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't understand. You're not part of the club.
I freaking hate that shirt, dude.
I freaking
God.
That's how I know it's good. Is if Jake hates it.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, we're on to something.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah. No, that was
because Jake told me one day straight up. He's like, I really don't like the pun shirts.
It's not even that like I don't.
Like, okay.
It's not even that I don't like them. I find them funny. It's just like not a type of shirt I would wear. That's just me.
I mean,
I'm a very
herper in Spencer's in a mall. Would I see this shirt on the wall there? And the answer is usually probably. So
fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't really have.
I still need you to make a fake it till you make it shirt. Hog nose.
I've tried. It's in. I have not forgotten about it. I was just thinking about it the other day because I really want to make it happen.
That's a great idea, dude. Come on.
Working on it.
We'll see.
These things take time. I don't really have any updates as far as collection goes. Pretty much everything's been the same. I've been so busy with work and side businesses and stuff that nothing new has come in.
Yeah.
Nothing has gone out. It's been pretty much the same.
Nice. It's not a bad thing. Over here, I hatched out a small surprise clutch of Gulf hammock rats. I got 5 eggs, 2 went bad in incubation. So I ended up with 3. I was really crossing my fingers for a trio. Ended up being a reverse. It was 2.1. So they're chilling. They've had their first sheds already. So about to start feeding trials with them. They're cool. That clutch was funny because the parents got sent out to my buddy Preston with Converse Constrictors. And literally the day we went to go bag them up, I opened the tub and she's got a clutch of 5 eggs sitting
Your
there.
parting gift.
I was like, holy shit. He was like, what? I'm just like, holy shit. He's like, why? Because he thought something died. And I was like, look. And there was eggs in there. So that was cool. Those hatched out. Really, really cool little snakes. So if anybody's interested in those, they will be put up, the whole group. So let me know if anybody listening is interested in those. Other than that, I think I'll put asterisks on think. I think my Jani is gravid. The North Mexican Pines. Got an adult pair from Tony D at Daytona last year. So she's got a nice big lay box in with her now and hoping for some eggs from her. I'm thinking my Apalachicola gray rat is gravid, and everybody else is kind of up in the air right now. Nothing confirmed because I'm pretty throw the mail in and be hands off. I'm not big on poking them and fingering them all the time to see if they've got follicles or eggs and all that. So I just kind of let them do their thing. And if they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. But I had 2 pairs of Deckerts paired up. Clayburgh County Bulls paired up. So we'll see. Kept everything apart while I was gone in the mountains last week. So
yeah, I put rhinos together, but I didn't get any eggs or anything. So don't think rhinos are happening this year. Maybe a clutch of these Ladies Island corns, and that's kind of it. I'm actually not upset about it being a light to non-existent year.
yeah,
It's nice to have a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I definitely tried to do less pairings this year. There's actually a period where I paired up a bunch of stuff, but then I was like, man, maybe I'll wait. But who knows? Maybe I did pair up my black rats, Spartanburg County, South Carolina locality. So who knows if those will end up going. I just kind of threw them together and saw it. Was going to see what happened. I didn't cool them down or anything. But that's what happened with the Gulf hammocks, man. The female was really, really tiny, and I just kind of had them cohabbed. I didn't cool them down or nothing, and she went really way smaller than I would have. Number one, would have even tried, but number two, even thought she could. So that kind of put some stuff in perspective for me. So I paired up a few extra things, but I don't think really any of them took.
Yeah.
But hoping for at least one clutch of Deckerts. I think my Apalachicola female's in her pre-lay shed right now. And everything else is kind of hurry up and wait. The Jani are what I'm really, really excited about. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with those.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. She looks very swollen. She had a shed right at 2 weeks ago. And I don't know if that was her pre-lay. If it was, that male got down and dirty almost immediately. Because like I started pairing probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I messaged Pain Chap, and I was like, "Hey, how long can it take for a girl to go into pre-lay shed?" And he was like, probably as soon as 4 weeks, depending on when they went. And I was like, boy, if this was our pre-lay, that man went in there and said, let's go, like right now. So
SEAL Team 6 that shit.
Yeah. And I almost think he did because he was very, very restless for a long time, to the point to where he got some pretty bad nose rub. And I'm dealing with that. And dude, as soon as I paired him up with that girl, let him do his thing, he calmed right down and has been chilling ever since. And that nose rub is healing up really well. So I'm hoping he got what he wanted. And
sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, I'm hoping he got what he wanted and he calms down and gets me some babies. So
my wife gets upset when I start rubbing my face all over the walls and the doors and stuff. We go through a lot of Windex.
I could see that. That's disgusting.
Seeing the fingerprints and smudges and stuff. It's like a preschool window.
You're just licking the window.
Yeah. Yep. Till I bleed.
Oh God, that actually does drive me nuts with snakes, because it's like
you can't make them stop. Like
when that nose rub starts, man, and it gets so bad, and you're like, I know this hurts you,
right?
You just don't care.
I had bears that were so bad about it, dude, and I'm like, you're literally changing the shape of your head.
Like this, I know this physically hurts you, but you just don't care. Like
it's a little funny when the rhinos do it, because that little horn's like bending, so it's like all bent up against the glass and stuff, and they look stupid. It's great.
Well,
but we're back
tonight.
Yeah, back in saddle. Been wanting to have our guest on that we have tonight on for a while now. Just a matter of scheduling on our parts with the different shows and stuff now, vacations, things like that. So we finally got it nailed down. But this episode, we are joined by Joan Fernandez of Blackfish Herpetoculture. What's going on?
What's going on, gentlemen? Happy to be here.
Another man of eclectic tastes.
Yes. A taste that's been greatly impacted by the stuff that you guys put out. Like, I told myself I was going to be like a strictly Python guy, and then you guys start dropping corn stars and talking about Jana, and I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah, the Glubert game is contagious. That's for sure.
I think it keeps everything fun. Like,
it does. It's a really... It's so different, man, from because me personally, I kept only Pythons for a very long time, and I got into Colubrids, and it was like, this is bad. Like,
there's just too much cool stuff, man. I don't know.
Much.
The ball python guys are guys that can just stick to one group and be able to ignore everything else. I'm really impressed by that, because it's like, I could try as hard as I want to. There's just too much cool stuff out there. Like, I can't not have a little bit of everything. I don't, like, it's what I've talked about previously. Like, chondros are great. Yeah. Chondros are also boring. Rhinos are exciting. Like, you got to balance everything out. The stuff that's super difficult and headache inducing, you got to have the stuff that you don't have to think about at all, like, or worry about. It's going to be fine if it's, 5 degrees cooler in the room than it was 2 days ago, 10 degrees cooler, whatever, warmer, however you want to say it. It just, you gotta, I don't know how guys can do it. Like, just do a singular species or singular family or whatever and not deviate from that. Is hats off to him. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem exciting. Like, I can't imagine having a room. Don't get me wrong, I'd be happy if I had a room full of carpet pythons. I kind of do. But I also got like some stuff, sprinkled in there that's like, all right, you might try to bite me today. You're not going to try to bite me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, give us your background a little bit, how you got to where you are today and what today looks like for you.
Yeah. So I think I'm a little bit different than most people, but similar in the fact that like it all started when I was a kid. I wasn't a dinosaur kid, so like I had no interest in dinosaurs. Like, we'd go to the museum, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but it's like,
well, this podcast is over. We'll talk to you later.
Dude, my thing were fish. Like,
okay, yeah.
So we were talking backstage, and I'm Latino. My family's from the Dominican Republic, so every summer I used to go out there, spend some time with my grandma, and yeah, we had like livestock and stuff like that. But what really did it for me was like the little tree frogs, like hiding behind the body wash, or like little green anole lizards just running in and out the house through the windows, and they're everywhere. So that's kind of what started off for me. And then I, started watching Steve Irwin back when Animal Planet actually used to show animal content and not like the cringy stuff that they show now. Like,
dude, it's gotten so bad.
Dude, it's like
all of them have though, like Discovery too. That whole nebulous of networks and stuff. Yeah. It's like National Geographic even. It's like you guys used to have educational stuff. Now it's 1,000 Ways to Die. Like, really? Are we?
Last time I saw, they had like Treehouse Masters. I'm like, dude, this isn't what I came here for. Like,
I mean, that channel, I think that whole sort of like group of channels and stuff after Irwin died, it just wasn't the same, dude. I think a lot of people were like, can't really go back now. Like, what do we get?
Yeah.
Wildcrats.
Side note, do you remember the show The Most Extreme?
Yeah,
of course.
Dude, that show was fire.
It's just, and now that's pretty much the majority of YouTube channels at this point. It's on repeat.
But dude, it was different back then, man.
Like, it was. That was sort of the birth of all the lists, things like that.
There was one guy whose name, I can't remember his name or the name of the show, but he was a South African guy, and he like
Austin Stevens.
No, not Austin Stevens. His show wasn't.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but he always came in like super hard on everything he did. He would like be diving out of freaking helicopters.
Man,
he would be like, my name is so and so, and this isn't a hobby. This is my job. And he would like hop out. God, what was his name?
It's on the tip of my tongue, dude.
It's right there, dude. But man, I loved his show. He was really good. And Austin Stevens was cool too. I actually, fun fact, I know this is a side tangent. But the guy that got me into snakes, he was a buddy, my buddy's dad, got me into snakes, and he actually got his first snake because he was from South Africa. He got his first snake from Austin Stevens.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, dude, swear to God. Like, he was born and raised in South Africa, moved here, and then he was breeding like corn snakes and king snakes from local collections. And he got his first snake from Austin Stevens in South Africa.
That's crazy.
Like, I was like, this is freaking nuts, man.
Yeah. But so to go back, so I started getting obsessed with like Steve Irwin and all that crazy stuff, and then BHB and Snake Bites TV, and like, dude, those early days of Snake Bites TV, like,
bro,
legendary,
bro. It was so good. Freaking Chewy, dude.
Dude, Chewy is like the most memorable person,
dude. Guy's a freaking dog, man. Like, love.
He was getting nailed left and right.
And he was so funny, man. I loved that guy.
Yeah. And then so I eventually like got my first bearded dragon as a kid. I was like 9 years old. That didn't last too long. And then I went a while without having any sort of herps. But in high school, I got really into like tarantulas and like hot scorpions and stuff like that. Dude, my grandma didn't let me keep any snakes. So I was like, all right, I can hide a bunch of spiders in my room, and like you will. And then, and then I always stayed in touch with like the herb community and stuff like that. I was always like in groups, I would follow the Retic Nation and like the Carpet Python guys. And, when I got to college, I was like, man, I really want a snake. And I was like, I'm a grown ass man. I can just buy myself a snake now. So,
God, I know that feeling so well.
And like so then I started listening to you guys, and I listened to NPR, and I eventually got a poplin carpet, and that was about 6 years ago. Everything has spiraled down since then, and
So wait, you said you started listening to us in college?
I started listening to 2019.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I always forget how long we've been doing this until people say stuff like that. And I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
we've been doing this for a while, haven't we?
You old.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever like stop and think back like how different your collections are now compared to when you first started?
All the time, man. So I actually went a step further and I went way back and listened to like the very first episode of THP we ever did. And I was like, holy shit, we're so different. Like Justin hates me now. I only keep colubrids. Like, it's so different, man.
Times
But
have changed.
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Well, in terms of where I'm at now, so I basically found my niche per se. So I'm really into like Morelia and stuff like that. Like that is my sweet stuff. So I keep a bunch of like inlands, diamonds. I got some locality coastals that I've been working with for a few years. Um, Recently, I got into Antaresia, and man, those little pythons are serious.
They're fun, dude.
Dude, those little bastards, man.
A species that I love and am fascinated with, but will absolutely never keep again.
Why not?
Because the first one I had, and I'm not one of those people that like, oh, my snake killed itself, but this thing literally killed itself. You know what I mean? Like it
maybe it just didn't like you.
No, like this was one of those, like this thing literally crawled into the smallest wedge it could in my tub. I had it for months. It was perfect. Everything was fine. It was growing. It crawled into the smallest wedge of the tub because I was just keeping standalone tubs, and this thing was on a 6-quart. And it crawled between like the little divot where the latch hooked to the tub and the lid, and it crawled in there, and I guess it couldn't get out, and it just died right there. And I was like, this thing is freaking stupid.
Was it like a hatchling?
Yeah, it was a baby, little thing, man. When I got it, it could barely eat a pinky. Like,
dude, that's crazy.
I was terrified to even feed it a pinky, but I had it over a year and it was fine. It finally got to the point to where like a pinky wasn't a big meal, and then it did that, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I loved it to death. I thought it was awesome. It was a little spotted python, but yeah, I think they're awesome. It's just one of those species that like I already keep colubrids, so I don't need a python that acts like one.
Yeah, good point.
What kind of Antaresia do you keep?
So I have Eastern Stimsons, Western Stimsons, and Children's.
Nice.
Yeah, so probably got into them like a year and a half ago, and man, they're super cool. I also keep some rhinos. I have rhinos over Baronii all day, every day.
All right. Let's not get silly.
And then I met a good friend probably about a year and a half ago too, and so I started branching off into like Indonesian pythons. So I got some Savu pythons, and I have some pure Superdwarf retics, so the Jampianus subspecies.
Nice.
So yeah.
How difficult was it to hunt those down? Because I feel like it seems to me like the super dwarf stuff has gotten really, 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 like the legit super dwarf stuff has gotten really difficult to hunt down.
Dude, it's like you said, it's like so hard. Like those retic guys, and listen, I love retics. Like, don't think I'll ever keep a mainland retic, but like, dude, like I don't know if you guys have heard like Nick Mutton going as like crazy rants and stuff like that, but like they're all like mixed at this point. Like they're all
100%.
It's like it's impossible, and like tracking down a pure locality pair or even like pure subspecies, you're gonna pay out the ass, because it's like everybody was so focused on like crossing them into morphs and like reach out reptiles and you can make, big snakes into smaller, but it's like, little do you know, these are actually separate like subspecies that like are vastly different from each other. So
And
it
they
was hard.
even when they crossed them into the smaller subspecies, they didn't stay that small. They kind of took away from the whole super dwarf thing because, like, this super dwarf still got 12 feet long. Like, no, it didn't get to that 16, 17-foot monster, but it still wasn't a small snake by any means. Like,
No,
God.
I think the super dwarf stuff is like it's misleading. But I think that the retic industry and the retic community, they're going in like the direction of where like the carpet python community is, right? Where it's like, let's be intentional about what we're breeding, right? Like we don't need more retics just to have more retics. Like let's actually like breed the stuff that's valuable, or like valuable in the sense of like, herpetoculture, right? Like none of this stuff is going back into the wild. But yeah, thankfully my buddy Andrew, you guys might know him on Instagram. He's a herpetofauna. He produces like locality retics, and he does like all the crazy herping expeditions. So he actually hooked me up, and so he gave me first dibs on one of the super dwarfs. So shout out to Andrew. He's like my plug at this point.
Nice.
So I finally, after 15 minutes of Googling, it was Donald Schultz.
That
was that show Wild Recon.
Yeah,
dude, it was like
Wild
it was gonna physically hurt me if I could not hunt it down because it was like right on the tip of my tongue.
That's exactly what it was.
Dude, that's an old show, man. That brought back memories.
Dude, that was honestly like when Steve Irwin was gone. That was my shit, dude. Like, I loved that guy.
Yeah.
But so as far as carpets go, you still working with any Popwins?
No, listen. Dude,
hit me with the Barons, and now you don't even keep Popwins anymore, dude. Like,
dude, there's plenty of people doing stuff with Popwins. You know what I mean?
It's only because we made him cool. All right.
He said that shit's played out.
Listen, I think they only look. A carpet python's a carpet python. I love carpet pythons, but Popwins look the best when they're babies and when they're like going through that like their color change. Once you get them to like adulthood, for the most part, it's like pretty underwhelming unless you catch them when they're like fired up. Then you're like, this is really nice.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to have a wrong opinion, and that's fine. No, I'm just playing.
No, I love Popwins, man. I think like I'm super happy to see like a bunch of people working with them. I went to Carpet Fest last summer, and I saw Eric's Poison Ivy stuff, and fuck, dude, yeah,
that shit's nasty, man.
It's nasty.
Yeah, his Poison Ivy stuff is nice. I really like the dark stuff. Unfortunately, I can't say much. I got out of a lot of them. I've only got 2.2 now. And, my adults are old, man. Like, I mean, old in retrospect. I think my female is 13.
Not like geriatric, but definitely.
Yeah, they're up there. But I have a pair of her offspring. I'm working with my more high yellow stuff now, because like yellow in a Popwin is a whole lot different than yellow in a jungle.
Oh yeah.
At least as far as the hobby is concerned. So I'm kind of working that angle on them. But I really like the dark stuff, man. Like that's those super black Popwins. Like,
Well, she'd probably go for you. I know, like the Brisbanes that we have, like they came from a pair that was like geriatric as fuck. Like,
oh yeah,
something like that, and they bred just fine apparently.
Yeah, no, they'll go. And I actually meant to pair mine this year, but like life kind of got in the way. And before I knew it, I was like, shit, I kind of missed my window to pair them up. And I got a little worried because I paired my female 2 or 3 years ago, and she slugged out. and I paired her the next year and she didn't go. So I was like, all right, let's give her a little bit of time, beef her up a little bit. She's getting up there. So I was going to pair her up this year because she had a year off, but wasn't super high priority. But next year for sure, they're getting put together.
I've been saying that about chondros for the last like 6 years.
Yeah. Difference is I will actually do it though.
You will, yeah. I'm 100%. Like,
yeah, I'm looking forward. And that was the other thing, man. Like, I haven't produced carpet since 2020, and I'm like, man, I really need to produce some carpets again, man. Like, I love them. Babies are so easy and they're so fun, and there's nothing much better than a baby carpet python, man. They're so cool. They're so full of personality and spunk, and they're fun little snakes, man.
Yeah, I think they're the perfect python. Like, I think they're
absolutely.
Antaresia are cool, but it's like if you want something with a little more oomph to it, you know, you can get yourself like a carpet python. It's not gonna like be huge. Still like super impressive, like when you walk by it and you have it set up in a nice cage. But like, yeah, man, like I think carpet pythons are the shit.
And I also think like, and I'm not talking poplins, I'm talking carpets in general. Carpets to me are the perfect python because they genuinely look like a python. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to Antaresia, like Antaresia are cool as far as size goes, but they look more like a colubrid than a python. Like I'm not talking bad about them whatsoever. I think they're amazing, but like
not sexy enough
no,
to get the python name.
Not at all. But Antaresia are plenty sexy. They're beautiful animals, but carpets still have that big head structure, you know, like those really big jowls on them, and they get an impressive size without being unmanageable. And you know, if you want to get into pythons, man, I mean, they're perfect. Yeah. You know, but
so I've noticed you've got some diamonds. If you're not doing popwins currently, like what are you focused on as far as carpets go?
Yeah, so in terms of carpets, so when I got into it, I was like, hey, let me try the subspecies, species. Let's see what I like. I kind of landed on the like spring breeders / like the stuff that can handle like temps a little bit, like little cooler temps.
Yeah.
So I got some diamonds. Been raising them up for like 5.5 years. So gonna be pairing them next year. I got some inlands. I got some Brisbane coastals. Those are like my absolute favorite. I got some Rockhampton coastals. So I got southern locality coastals, northern locality coastals.
Killer.
Yeah, and then you know, Ish. You guys know Ish. Ish is my boy. He lives like 15 minutes from my house. We hang out.
Oh, hell yeah.
I got a pair of reds, one from him and then one from Eric Hernandez. So definitely planning to do some goods with them in the future.
Yeah. No Brettles?
Dude, I had some bredli. I had an enforced female that I really regret selling. Like, dude, we've all sold that one animal. And
yeah.
And we're like, why the hell did we do that? There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, no, I hear it. You're just talking about spring breeders and stuff that can handle cold temperatures. I was like, man, Brettles sound right up your alley, man.
Diamonds, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I yo-yo so bad when it comes to Brettles, dude. Like, I don't have them, and I miss having them. I get them, and I'm like, why do I have you? And so I part with them, and then I miss them again, and so I get another one, and then I get rid of them.
I thought you had one. So.
Yeah, I
did, but when I downsized the last round, the Brettles that I got that Olsen gave me was in that group because I was like, I have a single Brettles. Like, what am I doing? Like, so.
Yeah,
I love that species of death, and it's one of those things where it's like I want one around all the time, but then I have one. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
Dude, an adult Brettle is like one of the most epic snakes in my opinion. Like, it's the perfect size. It's like big enough to where it's like I don't want to take a bite from that. But
I
it's
had
like,
an adult male, and he was like the family dog almost, dude. Like my wife
Yeah.
and kid loved him.
didn't you say you kept yours on like ambient or something like that?
Yeah,
Like,
dude, never gave him heat, never gave him anything. Like, did not care.
you know what they say, right? The only way to kill a breadlie is to like drop a rock on it.
Try, yeah.
Yeah, that's Brettles they're cool, man. I had one a while back, and I had
The 5%er.
Yeah, I had the 5%er. She was an absolute bitch. Like a horrible snake, dude. Like pretty as all get out, but she hated me. God, she just wanted blood and death and wanted nothing to do with me.
Not just any blood; she wanted your blood.
Yeah. So she moved along long time ago now. But yeah.
How do you like the inlands compared to everything else, carpet wise? Because that's another one that Serg has one that I think I'm gonna get from him, just because they've been on my list for so long, and everyone that I've talked to that's kept them says they love them. I've never heard someone say a single bad thing about them except for that one line and breeding. Other than that, that's one of the few species where everyone that I talk to that keeps them has nothing but great things to say about them.
Yeah, man, I love them. They're ridiculous. Like the way they look after a shed is like insane. They're like a naturally exanthic looking snake. They're on like the medium side of like the carpet pythons, super chill. I'm sure you guys have heard that. But man, they're so cool, and like they're unlike my coastals in the sense that like they move slow. They're like checking things out. The coastals, I go to open them up and they're like popping their heads open. It's like, yo, what's up? The Indians are like, oh, what's up, man? Like,
how's it going?
You want to hang out today? But no, it's really cool. Dude, I highly recommend it. Like, if you pick up that one from Serg, I met Serg at Carpet Fest as well, and like, Inland's fire. I tried breeding them this year, and I did the thing. I cooled them. I got them really cold, and I think my female reabsorbed because there's no eggs on the ground right
now. Which line are yours?
So my female I got from Martin Rosemont. She's a Mog Schofield cross, and then the male is a pure Mog line from Nick Mine.
Hell yeah.
Those were ones I don't know why. Like I always thought they were cool, but it was when I was heavy into carpets, they were ones that are like, yeah, I'll get them if I have the opportunity, but it's kind of going to let everybody else deal with them. Probably because I was so obsessed with Popwins. But those are they're cool, man. That's the other thing I've heard is like they're super chill, and they're not big. You know, like maybe bigger than a Popwin, but nothing like a coastal. You know,
those damn 10-foot coastals.
Yeah, it gets you every time.
Where they at though?
Yeah, probably that bearded dragon mom has probably got one laying around somewhere.
Yeah.
Tell you what, though, sort of going back to Antaresia, those house snakes, I don't even know if it's actually a pair. The two house snakes I have from Dustin Black remind me so much of Antaresia, just in the way they behave and they act. Not in the like, I'm going to eat your finger every chance I get aspect of it, but like the mannerisms, if that makes sense. And
I don't know how they're not pythons, honestly.
Dude, straight up. Like when I'm playing with them, I'm like, these are pythons. Like there's no way these are in the colubrid realm like whatsoever. So if someone's wanting to get into a colubrid, or they want to get Antaresia, but they don't want the python aspect of it, maybe the temperature requirements or something that's a little more forgiving overall, I think those house snakes so far, like I'm having a freaking blast with those things.
Yeah, house snakes are cool. I'm surprised more people don't keep them. Like they have the morphs, like they're small. Like
there's a really weird underworld of sorts with the whole house snake thing.
Because there's not that many morphs with
there's more than you think, dude.
Dude, yeah.
Morph market
subspecies too.
Expensive morphs too. Like not to put financial things in front of living things, but like there's money in house snakes because the price tag some of these things have on them is insane.
I think it's also like people will shy away from stuff that's really, really tiny when they hatch out because it's kind of like milk snakes, at least like I'll specify Eastern milk snakes.
Not those Andeans, dude, because those
No,
Andeans.
Eastern milk. I love Eastern milk snakes to death. I have some here, but my God, they are so freaking tiny when they're born, and they're a pain to get going, and they take forever to grow. And I feel like house snakes kind of fall into that same.
Quick, dude.
Milk snakes don't.
Yeah, they come out tiny, but I swear to God, like if I'm gonna do that cutting test again, I want to do it with house snakes just because the explosive amount of size they put on per meal, especially those first handful, is unbelievable. Like,
yeah,
I wish I could anecdotally give you a number right now for how much I think they grow per meal, but it is just unbelievable how much size they put on after like a meal or two. Yeah. It's insane.
But I think that's a big driving factor for house snakes is like being so tiny when they hatch. And like I don't blame people for that either. You know what I mean? Like that was one thing that drew me to carpets was like right out the gate they can eat a fuzzy. Like any of them, like, and they're good to go, but like that stuff that has to eat basically pinky parts when they're born, and then even getting them going on pinky parts can be a pain. Right.
Dude, I really want to work with Alterna, but that's like the only thing keeping me from working with Alterna. Is like I'm not putting up with that. Like, I'm sorry.
Talk to Chris Painchab, man. He'll change your mind.
Dude, it's like when you gotta feed it like lizards and not even just like it can't even be like an Eastern fence lizard because I can go out and get an Eastern fence lizard. It's got to be a Western fence lizard or whatever's out there. It's like,
it's one thing when it's like any lizard will do, but it's different when it's like, no, it's this lizard.
I'm getting my dad's Alterna.
Oh yeah,
God.
Make more.
Going back down that rabbit hole.
I'm not going down the rabbit hole. I'm just gonna have 2 Alterna. I have zero desire to deal with babies again.
We'll see.
They're awesome. I love Alterna. I will always love Alterna. But as far as breeding Alterna, I really have zero desire to do that. Like the babies are great once you get them started. It's a breeze after that. But getting them to that point is really frustrating.
Well,
in my experience.
If you ever breed them, just have Jake get them established. But...
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
That would be a thing. If I did breed them again, I would straight up just keep a small tank with some of the not Scolopendra, but Scoloporus.
Yeah.
I'd have Painchab or somebody ship me a couple just to have on hand. Like I'll keep them alive. I'll feed them bugs and stuff. Like I'll freaking do it upright, man. I'll give them a little vivarium and everything with rock balls and things. But I don't want to have to do that. So,
yeah, those smaller stuff, man. It's one thing. Like
they don't even come out that small though. Like gray band babies aren't tiny. Yeah, I mean they're small, but they're not like milk snake small, like Jake is talking about.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when I got the last batch of Eastern milks that I got, dude. I saw all those things in the freaking cup and I was like, ain't no way these things are eating pinkies. But sure enough, man, like I went and got some micros and I got a bad batch of micro pinkies. I'll say that. And they were way too big, but still made it happen somehow, some way. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way with Alterna because I like Eastern milk so much. I'm like, all right, I'm going to limit my headaches. Like I love Eastern milks too much. So I'm not going to kill myself with Alterna to add on top of that.
Yeah.
How do the baby Alterna compare to baby rhinos? Because I know baby rhinos are like, dude, tiny.
Oh, I'll take baby rhinos over Alterna like any day.
That's because the baby rhinos will eat fish and they're more than happy.
Yeah, having gone down that road a couple times now, like baby rhinos, it's a cakewalk compared to my experience with Alterna. Size wise, though, I mean, they're I guess more or less
Rhinos are
on
just
average
longer.
kind of the same, right? Like weight wise, they're probably similar, but Alterna are going to be a little fatter and sort of stouter, and then baby rhinos come out, like shoelaces. But as I said, like again, they're longer, but they're skinnier compared to the Alterna. But I feel like gram wise out of the egg, they'd probably be similar. Alterna maybe a little more dense, but yeah, they're not bad.
Do you have any colubrids outside of rhinos, Joan?
Yeah, so I've pretty much kept the whole gambit of pine snakes. So I've had black pines, I've had northern pines.
What's your favorite?
Dude, that's a hard one. Northerns. Nothing beats a big dude. I'm from New Jersey, so I don't keep them anymore. But like, I went out and I recently found my first pine snakes.
Dude,
Almost every day of my fucking life.
Yes, that's awesome, dude.
I'll never forget that day for as long
as. That's so sick. And in New Jersey at that?
Dude,
oh, man.
I need to get into
Pine Barrens that everyone talks about, kind of like Jersey.
Yeah, in the Pine Barrens. Yep.
That's so sick, bro.
In Ocean County. So what everybody has, we found them.
Have you found any corns?
Dude, no. I really want to find some corns. They're just not like they're out here, but it's like you really gotta look.
That'd be a cool find.
But aside from rhinos, I got some Depi. So rhinos and Depi.
Yeah. Ooh. Got them nice Depi.
Vivid line,
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Dude, I want Depi eventually. Right now I've got the Depi Jani, and those are, if somebody came up to me and said you could only keep one Pituophis, it would be Jani. Without, I wouldn't even have to think about it. They are incredible, and I imagine the Depi aren't far behind them. I've never kept them. They're a little bit out of my budget at the moment.
I really want to see Lineaticolis in person.
Lineaticolis are sweet.
I heard those are huge.
Yeah, I find the whole thing of like the pattern being so similar to Subox and stuff, like the whole story with them and how they're like, to me.
Lineaticolis are the inlands of the Pituophis world.
Yes.
They have that naturally exanthic look, very like they're awesome. They're very cool, but those and Gibson Eye are kind of the white whales of the Pituophis world. I also
like the yellowish wash of the Kentuckys.
Yeah, but I think Kentuckys are a little earlier on in breeding, so you're having better success. I do think the Lineaticolis and the Gibson Eye are more so the stock that we have is very inbred, and that's where people get a lot of issues. Even though breeding hasn't been super successful in recent years, I do think that's part of it, and I'm not saying that's all of it, but but I love the Depi man. They're Paint Shab got some recently, and I was like, dude, I freaking hate you.
Dude, I think like Depi Jani, I think they're like the most popular, like right after Northerns, I think they're the most popular right now. I see everybody has them, like they're phenomenal. Like I sold a female that I raised for like 3 years, literally like 2 months ago, because I was like, all right, I got the Depi. As much as I want to keep both of them, I don't have the space for both. Dude, and she was insane, like just beautiful, super chill, never like. Do yours rattle their tails? Mine never rattled their tails.
Sometimes, like my female that I think is gravid right now, she was rattling at me today. Normally not. They're super chill. But yeah, they're such great snakes, man. And honestly, it blows my mind how cheap they are. Like, and obviously, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh no, look, I don't care about snakes if they're cheap. Like, I keep way too many dirt cheap snakes. Like that means nothing to me. But like with how pretty they are and
Right.
how great they are. It's just one of those things like, why are these things so cheap? I'm almost glad they are because it gets them in more people's hands.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, it's like, why, dude? Like
Right.
they're gorgeous. They're super variable.
What's the
Like,
difference between Depi and Jani? The two
it's,
subspecies.
that's it. It's just a subspecies.
Oh, there's not like any major like size difference or anything like that.
The Depii get slightly bigger if I remember correctly, and when I say slightly, I mean more so by individual. My Jani that I have are my adults. I have several, but my adults are huge. Like they're very large for Jani, in my opinion. But the Depii are pretty known for getting pretty substantial. Not quite as big as like your northerns and some of your bull snakes. They're like they're not that big, but I've seen some
sizable.
Seen some massive Depii.
I've heard people compare like Depii Jani to like Mexican like rat snakes and less of like Pituophis and stuff like that, just because like their body type. So, and I see it. I think that like compared to a northern, which is like big and stocky and like a big bulldog of a snake, like even baby Jani are like super like thin noodles, dude. If you see a baby northern pine snake, that thing is like a chonk. It's pound and hoppers, possibly even small mice, if we're being real.
Dude, those babies that I gave you, like they were when I got those from Tony, those things were coming out of the egg eating damn small adults. I was like, how old are these? He's like, a month. I was like, fuck off. It's like a month old. Get out of here.
They're also not nearly as keeled with the scales, like not even close. To be honest, I'm surprised they're obviously you can tell they're Pituophis, but I'm surprised they're actually labeled as pine snakes and not because they're to me. And I know there's been some debate on it and that they're more related to gophers than anything. But and they, as somebody who kept gophers, they're way as far as like scale feel, they're more like a gopher than a bull or a pine. Like they're not nearly as keeled. Like, cause my dude, especially northerns, man. Like, my God, those things are they're keeled to all hell. But the Jani and the Depii are really smooth snakes. They're not like a rat snake, but they're not like a northern, you know. And but I actually moved away. The one Pituophis that I moved away from were northerns.
What?
Yeah, I had a pair and they were Jersey Giants, and I just like I have Jani, I have southerns, I have albino southerns, I've got blacks, and I kind of like waited out. I was like, I have so many of these Pituophis that are going to get freaking massive. And it was basically down between the black pines and the northerns. And I was like, I gotta move the northerns, man. Because like I can get northerns whenever.
Yeah.
Those are easy to find. But black pines, it's like
southerns even, dude.
Yeah, southerns aren't easy. You don't see them a lot.
You don't. I've never kept southerns, and the reason I've never kept southerns is because like they just weren't available when I was looking. Like,
wow, you want some in a couple years? I got you for sure.
I think it's because those didn't have the colors and stuff to them.
Yeah, they weren't pitch white and black. People love black and white snakes. And northerns hit that on the head very well. But right now I've got albino southerns, and I've got a pair of northern or normal southerns. And I love them to death, man. You don't see a lot of them, and I don't really know why. Probably, I guess, because they're not as, like I said, black and white as the northerns.
I think they look pretty cool, though.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're completely different from the northerns, like night and day. So I love them to death, and it was just one of those things that like I've got too many snakes that are going to get really, really big. So northerns got the chop for now. I love them to death, but
I feel that.
Did you breed anything this spring?
No, I tried. I paired up my female inland, and then I paired up the Brisbanes, and so the Brisbanes were on the younger side, but like people say, Brisbanes are like, southern coastals are, known to get a little bit bigger than like the northern coastals.
Right.
Dude, I think it's true. Like she was like 3.5 years old, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wait till she's like 4. I was at Carpet Fest, and I was talking to Brandon Wheeler, who I got my female Brisbane from way back. And I was like, dude, like this snake is like this, she's this old, but she's big, like she's this long, and I don't power feed. Dude, I've had people tell me I need to feed my snakes more. I don't power feed like at all. And he's like, dude, give her a try. Like the worst thing that could happen is she just doesn't go. So I put them together, saw plenty of locks. Yeah, and I just honestly, I don't even think the female was the problem. I think the male was just a little too young. He was probably like 14, 15 months old. But they're doing good. All the snakes are over here. I'm gonna try them again next year. The inlands, man, those things threw me for a loop. Like you hear conflicting things, people have bred them like coastals, and then you hear people that have bred them like diamonds. It's like, oh crap, it's like a 30-degree difference. Yeah, and it's like, so I threw them down I threw the inlands down with the diamonds this year. My female, she's plenty old enough. She's like 5.5. She's a pretty old snake, never been bred before. The male, he's like 18, 19 months old, had some good size on him. They went through everything, did the motions, locked up, she swelled up, and then she had what I thought was her pre-lay shed. And then, I counted out and nothing ever happened. And she just went back to her normal size. And I was like, all right, well, looks like you reabsorbed this year, so we'll try again. So we'll see.
And I do think there is, like, I assume both of those pairs were first year breeders.
Yes, sir.
I do think that makes a huge difference. Like for most stuff, like first year pairings, I don't really bank on them going first time around. Obviously hoping is you got to hope for it. Like, but the first time breeders, I have way less results
Your
than
expectations aren't very high.
Right. Like I had the same thing with my gopher snakes 2 years ago. I paired them up and it was the same thing, like lock after lock after lock. And I was like, all right, boom, eggs, nothing. Didn't even swell up like I thought she was going to give me eggs, but there were several confirmed locks. Next year, she gave me a perfectly healthy big clutch, like no issues.
Was that a first time pair as well?
The first year, yeah, that was their first time going, and then the next year I paired them up again, and she gave me a big, super healthy clutch.
I heard that too, because like Ish has this one female like exanthic jag that he's named Beetlejuice. He like loves that snake. He tried to breed her last year, and she was up to size, had the age, right? Locked up with the male, nothing happened. He tried breeding her this year, didn't do anything different. Probably fed her less because she already had size. And I'm pretty sure she dropped a clutch for him. So it's like, to your point, it probably is the case of first time females or first time pairings. Just they need a year to marinate.
Yeah, and sometimes like I've had plenty of stuff that will go that first year. It's just one of those things that like first time female, I don't really like bank on it. Obviously hopefully, yeah, of course, but like if they don't go, I'm like, okay, like to be expected. But it's always, to me, if you see the locks and stuff, that means they know what they're doing. Like they got the job done, but they didn't in the same token. So like that to me is a very good sign for the next season. Like they at least have a year under their belt, kind of know what's up, and then this year you can be a lot more hopeful. At least you did something right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you get locks, you did everything you needed to do. It just didn't happen.
Hey, at least they didn't start combating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true.
I really wonder though, with that kind of thing, not even just in carpets, but sort of across the board of like, you're in a borderline like puberty kind of stage with those first time breeders. How much sort of the chemical cues and pheromones play a part in sort of those getting those gears turning, like starting and physiologically? Like if you had first time breeders, but earlier in the year before you paired them, you took the shed of the male you wanted to pair with that female and put that in with that female, if that would affect the outcome of like fertility and stuff like that down the road, because the introduction of those pheromones and stuff, maybe, I don't know, it's something I've thought about a little bit for a while now, is like just the introduction of that stimuli. It's me trying to sound smart. Does that introduction early on sort of play a part in their fertility and how that first year goes down the line? You know what I mean? Like if you're just introducing them and they haven't had any sort of interaction or those chemical cues and pheromones aren't there, then the body's sort of just like in its normal day to day, right?
Yeah.
But if you introduce those earlier on, the body's like, wait a second, I know what this means. Like there's males around, and maybe that sort of kickstart something going on, with the body. I don't know. That's a hunch that I've had and I've wondered about.
Yeah. And what really threw me off about like the inlands was like, I thought she did all the motions, they locked up, she was big. And then she had what I thought was her pre-lay shed. And when they say like you take the male out when the male wants like nothing to do with the female, he's on the other side of the cage for like a long time. And he was doing that. And I was like, oh dude, I'm totally getting inland eggs, like fingers crossed. And then it's like, what was it, 35, 40 days later, I was like, there ain't no eggs on the ground.
Yeah, that's weird.
I was like, all right, we'll try next year. But no, I think it was like a good experience though. Like I definitely feel like I have a plan going into this upcoming breeding season of like when I'm going to put them together. I was talking to some keepers in Europe who like, keep theirs together. Cause like I said, you hear stuff of people in America breeding them like diamonds, and you hear about people breeding them like coastals. So it's like, we know that's like very different. Like diamonds, you're freezing them. Like I drop my diamonds to like 50 degrees and like I don't feel comfortable taking a coastal carpet cold or any other python. To be fair, that's freezing cold.
Right. Yeah, but I would say I think a lot of the issues people have, especially like if they don't have success with a first time breeder, they try to do something different year after year to try and get them to go. And I think that's half the problem. Like in your scenario, you got locks. They did everything they were supposed to do. The female just didn't take. Personally, I would do the exact same thing you did this year next year, because if you do it different, they're going to cycle different. They're going to react differently. And I think that's like, obviously, I've never kept Bolins or anything like that, but I think that's half the thing. One year something doesn't work, so they try something different the next year, then different the next year, and different the next year. I'm like, okay, why don't you try the same thing for 2 or 3 years straight, and then if it doesn't work, then try
the
something
patience
different.
Of consistency.
Yeah, like be consistent with it, because like if you're constantly changing it, that's not a natural environment for them. Like obviously we keep snakes in boxes. Like it's not, this isn't the wild, but at the same time, it's going to be pretty consistent where they're from, year after year. So at least try and emulate the same things you did the year before, or even 2 years before, and then change it up, So like in your shoes, I would absolutely do the exact same thing you did this year, because you did something right. There, and I hear all types of people, say their females reabsorbed, did the whole thing, refused food, were cooling up on heat, went into a pre-lay shed in the lay box, and then just nothing. Like, it's a pretty common thing, like, you know, so you did something right. I would say definitely, like, do exactly what you did and hope for the best next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep you guys posted on what happens, but I'm excited because I've been raising everything I've got. I've raised it up from a baby. Like,
that's awesome.
Hatchlings, and so it's like we're getting to that point. It's like, all right, I've kept things for a long time. Now that I'm, starting to think about breeding, it's like, dude, this is like super interesting. There's like way more to breeding than there is to keeping, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're paying attention to different things, and like, I'm gonna give the diamonds a go next year, and I'm prepared for those things to, throw me a loop. You know what I mean?
For sure. Did you cycle stuff as babies too, or did you just kind of?
Yeah, I've been cycling since they were babies.
I think that is so important. That's one of my biggest things. I do my carpets specifically, like I don't do it with the colubrids solely because I have to get them so cold in the winter, and putting 90% of my collection in the garage just isn't a option. But I always drop the room a little bit and give them a little bit off of food. But carpets, literally from the day they're born, I'm cycling them. Yes, it takes that much longer to get them up to size, but I don't really care about that. But I think that will go a long way because, again, like, I hate to bring up the wild when we're keeping snakes in cages, but when they're babies, they go through the same thing the adults do: a dry period, a wet period, a food abundant period, a fasting period. Like, I think all that stuff really plays into it. Everybody's so focused on get it as big as you can, as fast as you can, and then try it. It's like, I can only imagine that kind of throws their system into a shock the first time you do it,
Yeah, it's like you've never cooled a snake before, and then when it's like 4 to 5 years old, you like, all right, let's drop it 10 degrees and let's like respiratory system. It's like, oh, my snake is blowing bubbles. It's like, yeah, well, the snake is not used to it, and I totally agree with it. Like, I think snakes, like I think it was Zach Loafman. He did that podcast on digestion a few years ago, and he was talking about how like snakes, especially pythons, like they need to give their digestive system a break. Like, part of that goes into like the breeding season, right? Like you're sending cues when you start feeding things more, when you take food back, right? So it's like you said, it's all part of their natural history.
And it doesn't even have to be so drastic. Like with my, bring this to colubrids a little bit, in the winter, like, no, I don't put them in the garage, drop them to 50 to 55 degrees, sometimes even lower, for 3 months out of the year. But I do drop the room to the, mid to low 60s, and I don't feed them for a month.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not the same, because like, and I hate that it's like that right now. If I could drop my entire room and keep my python somewhere else, I would cool everything down as low as possible. That's just not feasible, but I still try and do a period of some type of cycling. No, it may not be the same, but it's better than nothing, because then their system is used to that over a period. Like, it's better than nothing, because like sometimes even then, like, those periods that's all they need for a lot of stuff, is like that slight drop, no food, and then even if it's only a month, like, that can stimulate, that aspect of, oh, this is winter. You know what I mean? Like, no food, it's cold and dry and blah blah blah.
Question for you guys: do you guys? So Jake, you just said you like during the winter you might like cut back for a month, right? Like not feed anything. Do you guys do the same thing in the summer? Because I know like some python guys, and just comparing pythons to colubrids, right? Like some python guys will, they'll feed heavy like coming into spring, and then they'll dial it back in the summer, and then at least on the East Coast, and then in the fall, you're pumping them up for breeding, and you cut them back down. Do you do the same thing for like colubrids, where you're like, hey, we're going to give you a break in the summer?
So for colubrids, and I pretty much do this with my carpets too. I'm also not really a pump them really full in the fall because, like, if you think about it again in a natural standpoint, fall things are starting to fall off a bit. So in fall, instead of feeding a lot, I feed pretty much normal amount as I do summer, but I feed bigger stuff to still pump them up, but it's not in the way of like giving them food every 5 days. I feed it. I keep the schedule the same, if not less, because that's the other thing especially with the pythons. Like for me personally, it's summer or spring comes around, especially with colubrids. Spring comes around, you pump them up, you start pairing. Summer is pretty normal. Fall, I still cut back a little bit because I don't think you should go do a pump them up, normal, pump them up again, and then nothing. It should be a gradual drop. You know what I mean? Like spring is heavy, summer is normal, fall is slightly less normal with bigger items, and then cut off. At least that's what I do, and it works pretty well for me. But then again, I keep all colubrids, so a lot of my stuff you can pair them anytime and they'll just go. So, but what about you, Smitty?
I mean, it mostly depends on the species. I don't think you would do the same thing with chondros in terms of cycling going into or out of a season, be it cooling or whatever, as you would like Conicus or something. But like for me, I mean, with colubrid stuff in particular, like rhinos, it's the male's going to go off food regardless, whether I want him to eat or not. But going into a cool down, which for the rhinos, quote unquote cool down is pretty mild. But I'd say almost the same way I do with like the Baird's rats. It's like just take them off food, and then they get whatever the room drops to at night in the winter. Like that's their cool down. And then as we get into the warmer months, as it starts to warm up, ramp up food a little bit and get the females sort of prepped for eggs and stuff. And the males, I don't tend to feed really any heavier coming out of cooling or anything. I might give them an extra couple meals, here and there, just to give them get some weight back on them or something if they look like they need it. But females, is the bigger concern for me with that, is just making sure that they get enough going into breeding season and stuff. But spring to cool down again, it's fairly consistent with the feeding and stuff. There's not like a break in the summer or anything like that. And when you have species that go off food, like males in particular, especially with rhinos, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever they feel like doing, but they'll tell you, like, if they're hungry and they want to eat, they'll eat. If it's a male that's hyper focused on girls, like if that's the way it is, it's the way it is. I don't really stress too much about it, but
I feel like that's a very, very common thing is in colubrids, especially Pitchophis. Like the male,
makes the job easier because they're like it's
the males will like eat right out of. They'll eat once or twice. Like I'm talking Pitchophis specifically. Like they'll eat once or twice out of cooling, and then at that point they're like, "All right, where is she?"
I found my rhinos to be the same way. Like they'll eat a couple times out of cooling, but as soon as it starts to warm up, and I don't know if photo period has really anything to do with the triggering of that, but once we start getting into spring, we're talking at this point, I usually expect it like mid to late March is when they'll just stop taking. And to me, it makes the job easier because it's a cue. Like males are ready to go, so get the females ready. If I'm not housing them together, which with the rhinos, if you're housing them together, feeding them can get a little chaotic. Just because if the male is hungry and the female's always hungry, like things get a little squirrely. Then put the male in there, and if he's not going to eat, whatever, but keep the female fed, and they'll know when to make something happen. So just they know better than I do when she's ready. So it's pretty easy when you have him just do all the work.
Yeah, the males are really good indicators, especially if you have feet. Obviously, most of us keep all of our stuff in the same room, so they can smell the females, man. Like recently, my albino southern, I paired him up with the girl last year, and she slugged out. She was egg bound. It was a very stressful period. So I didn't pair them again this year because she didn't bounce back very well. I cooled them down for the sake of keeping the cycle, but not pairing them. And sure enough, man, 2 weeks ago, I offered my male a rat, which he is psycho about eating. And he was like, fuck you. Like, I can smell her. Where is she? And he's been a crotchety little dick ever since. But
it's funny, man, how they go from polar opposites like that, you know, where it's like normally they don't refuse, and then it's like you offer them one day and they're like, what the hell's this? Like, what do you want me to do with that?
Right.
Like, what do you want me to eat? And like, fuck off.
It was like the male Janai, man. Like he ate, but he was just pushing and pushing and pushing. And as soon as I paired him up, he was like, okay.
He was just sexually frustrated.
He was obviously
He wanted some. That's all it was.
Yeah. Hey, I can't blame him, man. She was right there, and he could smell her. So hopefully he got what he wanted, and he's stopped pushing, and he's eating fine. And I think my females grab it. So all good things.
It's also been interesting too, because we were talking before we started and before you hopped on, Jake, about how it's been kind of a weird year for a lot of people. For me, like I put that bigger male rhino with that female, and I kept them I cohabbed them for a couple weeks. And I think he tried, because I noticed some, like there was some neck biting going on, because I could see some marks that maybe he had grabbed onto her at one point. But having the heater on in the room because of the spiders and stuff over winter, I didn't really give my stuff the room the cool down that it normally gets before I had the spiders and whatnot. Because before it would be like, unless it got really cold, I'd turn on the heater in the room. But for the most part, if it was sort of the standard South Carolina winter, whatever the room got to at night is what it got to, you know, be that in this, you know, low to mid 60s, whatever, like perfect. That's the cooling that the rhinos are getting. And that was enough the first, 2 years. Mm-hmm. But this year, because I had that heater on more because of the spiders and stuff, and not wanting them to get that cold, even though I really don't think they would care. I'm sure half those species, if not all of them, experience a cool down like that anyways. But males didn't go off food. One of them might have, but for the most part, when I offered it to them, they took. And granted, I feed pretty light for the most part across the board. But then there were signs that both males had tried. Like I could hear and saw the original pair that's cohabbed together full time. Like I noticed the male chasing the female around earlier on this year, and I was like, okay, cool, they're gonna make something happen. And then I saw the bite marks on that female from the male with the other pair, and was like, okay, he's trying. But I haven't seen any action or signs of eggs from either of them. So I think not cooling it, and then it just kind of being an odd year, because I've some people have told me like their chondros went later this year as far as like eggs and things than previous years, and I know some other people have had some sort of weird locks but no eggs ever happened kind of thing, and I don't know. It's been kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it seems like it's the East Coast. It's our turn to, I don't want to say suffer, but experience it, because wasn't there like El Nino going around last year? Like the West Coast breeders were like, "Oh man, we're not having the best season." So I think these things kind of happen, and it was like the East Coast turn to face the brunt of it.
Yeah, what I might have to do this year when we get into the cooler months again is like I may have to do a proper cool down with stuff like I've done in previous years. I didn't do one last year because I didn't cool down really any corns last year or anything because I didn't plan on breeding anything except for the rhinos. So this year, I'll either go back to doing what I was doing pre-spiders and just let the room get cooler at night in the winter, and that makes me a little more nervous with. It's the Bacillifera in particular that I worry about with getting cooler like that. Like any of the Brachypelma, like they'll be fine. I don't like they're tanks. And even the ornamentals for the most part are probably going to be okay. But there's just part of me that's like I'm a little more concerned to let them get cooler like that on a nightly basis for 3 months. But I may end up having to just put stuff in the garage again, or sort of the pre-cool down that I do where I move things into my closet because my closet isn't attached to the main central heating and air and stuff.
That's what I would do.
It gets cooler than the rest of the house, but it doesn't get as cold as it does in the garage, especially on the really cold nights that, if we happen to get them. That's been kind of a nice, like I put them in there for about 2 weeks and then I move them into the garage for like a real cool down. And so what I may do, thinking about it now, is just put them in the closet for a couple weeks and then bring them out of that and see if that does anything.
Plus, that'll keep them nice and dark for a period.
Yeah. I usually keep the lights off in there too. So,
how cold were you getting your room for the rhinos?
Not really that cold. I mean, honestly, at the lowest, like I want to say my Govee said like 63. Not as cold as everyone was telling me before. Like, you hear people saying like, oh, you gotta get them cold. And I think the first year I bred them, I didn't do really any of that. I just, whatever the room got to at night is what they got. And that seemed to work fine. I don't know that they necessarily have to get down as far as what was initially thought, but my experience is going to be different from someone up north or someone in Colorado like Rob, or but for me that seemed to work fine. I got great clutches 2 years in a row from the same female. This year I think a big part of it was just not letting that room get as cold on a nightly basis, so, which I didn't think it would make that big of a difference, but here we are in the time that I should be getting eggs. Then I don't have any. So
again, though, I think that I would almost give them, like I was saying earlier, I'd almost give them one more year to try that and see if it was just like a cycle thing. Because like maybe they're used to the one thing and they needed a year to get used to the new thing, and give them a go again. Like I don't know. I'm pretty stick to one thing if it works for most of the stuff, and just keep doing that. And if it works for some but doesn't work for others, give it another year. Granted, my stuff's a little bit more generic is the wrong word, but I really try and keep things to where they cool down the same. Like my colubrids will all be fine in the garage for the winter, and my pythons will all be fine staying in the room for the winter. And that's on purpose, like I've pretty much, made sure to do that with all the stuff that I keep. And that's why I haven't ventured into a lot of super more complicated stuff like that, that those in-betweeners, but yeah.
And this is where I need to just dig deeper into Google, and I need to, ask Sarg when is winter the same time frame in India as it is Australia, because it is on that side of the globe, and then start looking at weather patterns and stuff in India. Like, what are the temperatures that are actively being recorded? And granted, we can only trust that information so much because it's not dead accurate to where we're talking about. But in general, like the subfusca, which are supposed to be sort of more of a montane species of Bacillifera, from what I understand. How cold are they getting at night in the winter? And if I look and it's saying like 60 or lower, like then they'll be fine. Like I won't worry about that come winter, and I won't use that heater unless I really need to. Like we're talking like getting into freezing temperatures here, which is not that common. It was more common. It's previous winter, but we also got snow, which is like a once in a decade event. So I just that's something I probably need to do tomorrow or maybe even tonight, is just start looking at what the temperatures are looking like in India in the winter in these regions where those tarantulas are native, and see if they can, if they're experiencing a similar cool down like that in the winter months. And then if they are, then perfect. Then that heater will go back to only being used when necessary and not being kept on, full time. Because Brachypelma and those Mexican species and Central American species, like especially as you get into the less of the coast, more inland, more higher elevation, like they probably are experiencing those cooler temperatures. Like
sure,
those I'm not worried about. But the Indian stuff, Sri Lankan stuff, and then possibly that Theraphosa. But even then, that thing seems like such a tank. It doesn't seem to really care what's going on. As long as there's food coming in, it doesn't give a shit. So, But again, Google's your friend. These are the kind of things that you look at, and it helps you be a better keeper and get a better understanding of natural history.
Even easier if you have a smartphone, just go to your weather app and type in the closest city that you could find them in and do that. Like I did that for Papua New Guinea for years and checked it all the time, and that one's a little easier because it literally stays the same temperature all fucking year. So, and that's why with the Papuans, I do more of a dry season with no food, and it works great here because in South Carolina, like, yeah, it gets cold, but my snake room more so goes through a dry period and a wet or in a more humid period. So it's more so for me with the Papuans, it's more of a no food, more food scenario. And it works great for Papuans here, like if I kept stuff like diamonds, I'd have to treat them like the colubrids and put them in my garage for, months at a time. But it's all about knowing the geography, man, and what's going on when.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's like super helpful about that is I always encourage people to sure, it's hard. We can't go out to China tomorrow and go find some riding rats, but it's like, dude, any opportunity you can, go out and see how snakes are living, right? Go herp. It turns out on a 90-degree day, you're probably not going to see a snake out, but where you will find it? Under some tin. You might find it under a rock, under a log, but it's you start taking into consideration the little microclimates and stuff like that. Snakes and reptiles are doing different things at different temperatures.
That's why I encourage a lot of people, and I need to do better about it myself, actually bringing a temp gun out to those hot days when you're really flipping stuff and shoot the temperatures under there, man. That's why and it's great. That's why field herping is why the hobby is moving so far away from a 90-degree hot spot. And, you don't need to do that. There probably, honestly, a lot of carpets, especially Papuans, can be kept at ambient temperatures. I have a hot spot on mine, but it's not drastic at all. It's just a couple degrees just to give them something. And even then, I noticed they really only use it when they're in shed or gravid. They don't use it. So
so I just looked up. I'm using Pacilitharia metallica as an example. So the Goody ornamentals, which are native to Andhra Pradesh, and I googled Andhra Pradesh weather nighttime temperatures in December, and this is saying it gives you a couple of the different cities in that province, and I'm seeing 68, 65, 48 to 53. So, that's.
But the biggest thing is so in summer months, underground is cooler, and in winter months, underground is warmer. So that would be the biggest question, is how deep they're going, or are they still
they're mostly arboreal, so they're
oh well then
and stuff.
yeah, then I think you'd be fine.
Western and Eastern Ghats. So let's see the on Regalis, because the Ghats are a pretty big difference range-wise from Andhra Pradesh, if I'm not mistaken. Temperatures in December. 10 Celsius to 25 Celsius. That's pretty chilly. Yeah. So, I mean, just a quick search, and it's looking like they could handle 60s on a regular basis at night in the cooler months.
And I do think the biggest thing with that is like warming them up during the day. You know, because that's a big thing with carpets as well. As I'm sure you've also know, Joan, is like the daytime temperatures, you get them pretty cold at night as long as you warm them back up during the day. And, you know, I think that could probably transfer well to the spiders. Like, give them a higher daytime, but turn that heater off at night and let it dip into the 60s and
Yeah, because
whatnot.
it's like when you think about it, even on the East Coast, like early spring, like yeah, we might have like hot days, right? But like at night, it's still dropping down like 60s, 50s. You know what I mean? And like the
Yeah.
snakes, they're not necessarily going back into hibernation for the night. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're gonna hunker down and then they'll be back out. You know, catch some sun in the morning, and then go about their day.
Yeah, they're not necessarily eating, but they'll come out, get some sun as it cools back down. Like, all right, we're gonna go back and hide again. You know, like, and that's why, like, again, talking about Zach Loafman, he talked about that with some rat snake species, especially from the southeast, is like more so cooling them like you cool carpets. That's been the whole thing, especially with poplins. It's like cool them down at night, warm them back up during the day. And
Not
that's
a real cool down. Like, it's not a real
right.
of sorts. Yeah.
Right. It's more so turn the heat off at night. And then, you know, that whole thing, you know, at least for your winter breeders, you know, your stuff like diamonds and brittles, like that's a whole other ball game. But even those, you're warming back up during the day. But I think a lot of the East Coast colubrids, like you could cool just like a carpet would, like cool them down at night, warm them back up during the day, and they'd be just fine. Like a lot of times it's just that they just need that cycle.
That's how I did Bairds, dude. Like, I didn't do anything special with the Bairds the first time I bred them. Like, I didn't even put them in the garage. They just were on the bottom shelf of the rack they were in the room, and they just went off. I took them off food for a month or month and a half, and then warmed them up in spring, paired them, got perfect eggs. Like, they didn't need anything serious. And I feel like a lot of like U.S. native stuff in particular doesn't, barring, you know, your extreme northwest, northeast stuff. Like, I don't feel like a lot of it really needs anything serious as far as brumation goes. Just in my experience, which is fairly limited in terms of like stuff I've bred, but you know, like corns here. The winter we had this past winter with the snow and stuff, that's like exceedingly rare. Like I almost feel bad for the native stuff, because they were probably like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this? It's actually cold, and it's actually staying cold for multiple days. But that's so out of the norm. Like, I mean, Jake, I'm sure you've been out at work and stuff in the winter, and you'll still see black racers moving around and stuff. They'll still be out basking. Like, I don't think anything truly goes down for a consistent, you know.
Nothing goes down and stays down for 3 months straight. Like, because that's the other thing. Snakes will take every opportunity they can to come out and bask. You know, it's not unheard of to have a, you know, high 50s, low 60-degree day. But then even think about stuff like diamondbacks. I know we're getting way off track here, but you know, diamondbacks down here. I've heard a lot of people. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say the best success you'll have with diamondbacks is going out on a very sunny, high 50-degree day.
Really?
Because they'll be out of those burrows now. They're not going out. Yeah, they're not out trucking around, but they'll come right out of those burrows and bask in the sun on a high 50-degree day. Like, and I'm sure a lot of stuff
Believe
does
it.
that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't doubt it for a second.
I heard mountain timbers do the same thing. Like I've never seen any like mountain timbers, but like they have timbers down in the Pine Barrens, and then they have timbers out in like the mountains.
Mhm.
Yeah, they say like those mountain timbers are completely different from the ones that you get down in the Pine Barrens. Like
Yeah.
they're coming out when they get like a crack of sun and they're soaking it all up.
Yeah. They gotta take what they can.
That's
and
also why a lot of them are so much darker than the lower elevation forms.
because they need to be. They need to
Yeah.
take every opportunity to
Absorb
get
every
sun
bit of
they can.
And
You know, that's the other thing. Really dark snakes you will see way more than especially in the early months. That's why the first snake you normally see around here is a black racer.
Yeah.
Because they're coming out first because they can soak up that heat way quicker than anything else can.
they're also nuclear powered and only require a little bit of charging time before they're ready to go.
Yeah, and eat anything
Quick
in sight.
charge. Yeah. I flipped one the other day at my parents' house, and it was like kind of sickly looking, like it needed a couple meals and just didn't look great.
A racer?
Yeah.
And it didn't run off.
I mean, it immediately was like trying to bite me and stuff, but it just physically it just looked frail.
That's rare for a black racer.
That is weird. Normally I see him and I'm like, you're eating good, and you're probably the reason why I'm not seeing anything else here.
Yeah. You ate all the king snakes around here.
So I guess moving into that a little bit, do you herp much by you?
Yeah. So I got into herping about a year ago, thanks to my buddy Andrew, and we hit the Pine Barrens hard. Like pretty much every other weekend, we would hit the Pine Barrens. We'd be out there. You guys know how it is.
How far is that from you? Like, if you're going herping, like, how far out are you guys having to travel to get to the right spots for it?
Yeah, so I live in North Jersey, so I work in Manhattan, so I got to live pretty close to the city. So I'm like an hour and a half, like literally hour 20 minutes down into the Pine Barrens. It's not bad. No, it's not bad. It's like a completely different world down there. But yeah, no, all the stories you hear about the Pine Barrens, like the Pine Barrens are unforgivable. Like they're a special place, and like you really have to be committed, as I'm sure you like with a lot of places, right? Like I'm a rookie when it comes to herping, but like man, we went out there all summer last year, and I got skunked every single time. Nothing but toads and fence lizards. There was this one day we saw a black racer at our feet. By the time we like looked down to go grab him, he was gone. And yeah, so we try to get out there as much as possible. We were talking backstage. I actually found my first northern pine snake about a month ago down there in the Pine Barrens in Ocean County, and it was an insane story. It's like I tell this story to my friends whenever I can. Like after a year of getting skunked, me and my buddy, he texted me. He's like, "Hey, let's go hit the pines today, first day of the year." We're like, "Yeah, we probably won't find shit, but it's like we're gonna go put our hours in." You know what I mean? So we get down there and we're going down the same road that we always go down, and literally the only thing this road has produced for us in the past is an eastern box turtle eating a toad. That's the only thing it produced. Yeah. Eating a toad. Like, it's on my Instagram. It's pretty wicked. And then we saw like this older gentleman, like, we were parked on the side, and this older gentleman like comes up on his like ATV, and he's like, usually when you see that, you're like, all right, everybody like hide the hooks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but he comes up to us, he's like, "Are you guys herping?" And we're like, "Oh, this guy's cool." Because like you gotta be a herper to know what herping is.
Right.
So he starts talking to us, and like we come to find out he's this guy who's been herping the Pine Barrens for like the last 30 years.
Wow.
He knows where everything is. So, we butter him up, and we become really friendly. We exchange names. We basically let him know, it's like, hey, like we've basically been here for every week for a whole summer. We found nothing. And I guess he sympathized with that. So he's like, all right, I'll show you guys one spot. So we go with him. He shows us his spot. Nothing there. But we're like, hey, at least we know we're in the right area, because we've checked that area plenty of times. And then long story short, he like loses the key to his like ATV in the middle of the Pine Barrens. Yeah. So we like go back to his, like they own like 86 acres of land out there. So we go back to his brother's property. We pull out one of those like old school like metal detectors that you put to the ground, and we're out there hunting in the middle of the pine barrens for like a small key that we're never gonna find. So we obviously didn't find the key, and we had to lift up an ATV onto the back of the Tacoma.
I was gonna say, you should be like, thanks, man. We'll see you later. Good luck.
Dude, I'm like, no, you're showing us something today.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he was super cool, and he's like, no, I can tell these guys are like serious. Like, they helped me when I didn't, they had no reason. They could have just gone about their way. So yeah, we proceeded to herp with him the rest of the day, and he showed us, where the pine snake's nest. We found pine snake eggshells. Like, dude, we found everything but a snake. Everything but a snake. And we're walking down this trail, and he's like, and this guy, he's found like milk snakes, he's found king snakes, everything that's down in the pine barrens, he's found them. He's flipped like actual nest sites of like baby pines just pouring out.
wow.
Check him out on Instagram, NJ Herping. It's insane. And we see a piece of tin. It's like a small piece of tin, like no bigger than like a notebook. He's like, lift that up. So he goes to lift it up, and we see a humongous black rat snake. Like, this thing was like literally, it had to be the size of a diamond python. I'm not even gonna lie to you. The thing was.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I didn't know they got this big. And dude, I like flipped out because that was my first. That was like my life for black rat. And then I'm like, hey, listen, it's getting late in the day. The sun's about to go down. Like, if we don't find any other snake, like, it's a win for me.
Right.
And then he's like, you know what, fellas? Like, I got some boards back at the property if you guys want to go flip. And we're like, fuck it, we have nothing to lose. Dude, this guy owns 86 acres. So we're like cruising around his 86 acres. And he's like, yeah, I found king snakes here. I found, black racers here. And so we flip his boards and we don't find anything. On the last flip, we find 2 pine snakes, 2 of them under one board. And it was over. It was like, wow. Good night today.
That's awesome, man. That's so sick. And that was the first time y'all went out for the year?
First time we went out for the year.
That's funny. Justin and I, the first time, it was really the first time I went herping. Justin, I don't know about you, but the first time we went on a real herp trip this year, it was like the last day of March.
Mm-hmm.
And we got our lifer Eastern Diamondback. Like, just luck of the draw. And that's why, like, your story is like, this is the perfect example of like, you're not going to find anything sitting on your couch. Like, you might get skunked, but you're also definitely going to get skunked if you don't go. But,
a bad day of herping is better than a good day at work.
Absolutely. It's like, I'd rather be there than be in the office any day of the week. I'd rather be bitten by ticks. And like the funny thing is, like, I went to Carpet Fest, and like I'm talking to like Rob Stone and Mike Curtin, and Mike Curtin's a Jersey guy, right? So he's invited me to herp before, and he lives in that area, and he's like, you're in the right area. Like, how come you're not finding them? I'm like, dude, you tell me. Like, I have no idea.
It's luck, man. That's like, herping is like 85 to 90% luck and that 10 to 15% skill, man. Like,
but that's what the guys, like what you're talking, like the one you're talking about, you guys were with, like when he looks at that small piece of tin and is like, you should flip that.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you get to that point? I honestly don't know that it's something that you necessarily even learn. I just think there's some people that just have this weird gift of like, I think that might have something.
I think herping's a skill, because like,
it is.
The more you hear like people talk about it, and like they know when to go out, they know where to look based on certain weather conditions. Dude, it's like my first time out there, I'm like, all right, I hope I don't get in the way. But it's like, as you start going more, you're like, all right, I know like these little rocks, they're not gonna have anything under them. You want something long, you want something flat, you want something with, especially with like the milk snakes, you want something with a little bit of moisture. At least out here, you'll flip a milk snake and there'll be like little pockets of moisture and stuff like that. Sure. But like the pine snakes, man, like it was bone dry. it was bone dry. It was like they were in like sandy dirt. Like,
yeah,
they were huge, dude. Those snakes must have been like 7.5 feet. They were humongous.
jeez. I feel like a lot of it too, though, like is also just knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, because I've got a road out here. Like most any night in the summer, we'll find something, but yeah, it's gonna be a copperhead. Yeah, but on the right night, I know for a fact, like we'll go out there and find 15 to 30 snakes in the night.
Gassers.
Like it's almost a guarantee on the right night, but that's only because you know your area, you know the temperatures, you know, that's just keeping track of your stuff, man. But like, you know, for instance, the Scarlet King I found last year, absolutely pure luck. It was a piece of bark, you know, maybe that big that I just happened to be walking by and I was like, this looks good. And I popped off that piece and it was way too tight, but sure enough, there's a Scarlet King snake sitting under it. And it was like, holy shit.
Those are the ones, man. When I'm on property looking for corals, I'm always looking at those small things like that's gonna be the one that I'm gonna flip and that's gonna have a coral under it. And it never is, but I'm still like, don't write off the little things because there may still be like coral snakes are babies too at some point. Yeah. You know, like,
and that's the thing. It's like you can flip all the good stuff you want all day and get skunked. Yep. But then you look at this piece that's like, there's probably nothing under there, but I'm going to look anyways. And then that's going to be the piece that has it.
We look at it and we go, if I were a snake, I would want to be under that.
Right.
But then you look at the small stuff or the stuff that you completely wouldn't even register to you as something that something would want to hide under. And then that's what you end up finding stuff under. And then the more you think about it, you're more like, okay, that actually makes more sense. If I was a tiny snake, I wouldn't want to be under the big piece of tin with the other big snakes that are likely going to try and eat me, i.e. black racers. I'm going to be under the smaller stuff that the bigger stuff isn't going to be under.
Exactly.
You know, and I get into that habit of like, you know, when we were out walking that new WMA and stuff a couple weeks ago, it was like, I get hyper focused on finding like one species. And that trip, it was like Eastern Diamondbacks. And so the entire time I'm walking around, I'm like, if I were an Eastern Diamondback, where would I be? And I think it's one of those things that's something that I want to get in the habit of like turning off in my brain. It's like stop hyper focusing on finding the gold when you're surrounded by plenty of other just as precious metals, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
open your mind and turn off that sort of filter of sorts, which is really tough for me. But
for me, it put in perspective when Jack found the coach whip, because it was like, I was sold on the fact that stuff was going to be on the move. You know what I mean? Like, so I wasn't really looking at the small intricacies in the bushes and the cryptic basking. I was like, I'm going to walk something up. It's going to be on the move and I got to be ready.
You're looking for the periscoping coach whip,
right?
Coiled up coach whip,
right? But Jack found that coach whip coiled up under these bushes beside a tree in the shade, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I really got to change where I'm looking and how I'm looking.
Not seen that, which again, I still don't understand how he did in the first place. Like,
incredible.
You could have walked around that tree and shrub 10 times and wouldn't have ever seen that snake.
Like, I promise you, I would have not seen that. That was one
thing is divine intervention. It took place that day, and some like God took Jack's head and went, look down, you know, and happened to see it because
it was that Massicophis shirt, man.
It was
you were wearing the Massicophis shirt.
What happened?
We don't talk about that because I didn't even get a chance at it. And you two fools did and fumbled the bag. And here we are, coach whipless.
At least one of us touched it.
You have nothing to show for it, so
it still counts.
No, I mean, it counts for all of us. We all saw it.
So is that a lifer? Is that like?
Dude, if you can see it and identify it, we'll call it a lifer. Like, because like a lot of times, like there's certain scenarios that like either A, you don't want to grab it because you don't want to disturb it, or B, you probably shouldn't grab it depending on where you are. So a lot of time, like for us, it's like if you can see it and identify it, you'll call it a lifer. getting your hands on it is just an added.
I mean, it's like birding. Like it doesn't count.
Exactly.
Hands on the bird, you know.
I heard birders, as long as you hear the bird, that counts too for birders. That's what I heard.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, they're playing on easy mode.
If you don't catch that fucker, you know.
Until you've tried to catch a coach whip, which is moving like the freaking golden snitch.
Like, dude, that thing was like, it was so funny because when that thing got through Jack and past Smitty, everybody was like, "Where'd it go? Where'd it go?" And I was like, "Just forget about it. Like it's gone. It belongs to the forest."
Literally, not even. I swear to God, that thing, a portal opened up and it went into another dimension. It straight up vanished. Like,
I'm telling you,
it's eerie, like a fucking ghost. I swear to God. Like, I was at my feet 1 second, and then I literally saw it dart in one direction, like quickly change direction on a dime. And that had to be damn near a 6-foot coach whip. Like, it was huge. It was a big snake.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I saw it 1 second, and then I saw it go into a bush, like spinifex grass, like not even a bush, like literally a patch of grass, and then it was gone. It was like, it just interdimensional. I still cannot believe how that thing is just evaporated. I mean,
that's why as soon as y'all were like, "Where is it?" I was like,
"There's no way it's gone that quick." I was like looking around for it, like it has to be somewhere next to me. Gone.
Yeah.
By the time you take a second to be like, "Where is it?" It's already 100 yards.
It's like that. It's like the black racer story I was saying. Like the moment we locked eyes on that black racer, we were like, "Let's get it." It was gone. We couldn't find it. We couldn't we were tearing things up. We were looking through the shrubs. It was gone. I was like, "Where did this thing go?" It was literally like 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, they change directions on a dime. They know the territory, like they hunt that territory. They know exactly where to go to where you will
literally at my feet, damn near on my boots.
It was in your hand for half a second.
I did. I managed to get my hand on a tail,
dude. That was so sad because I had this half a second of hope. Because Smitty goes, "It's right here. I got it." And I was like, and then he was like, "Where did it go?" And I'm like, because at that point I was like, "It's gone. Like, don't even waste your time. It belongs to the forest."
Still looked.
Oh, we did. I mean, I didn't. I was just throwing stuff.
It was very.
It was like, fuck it, man. We're not going to see it.
Yeah, I was upset. Is an understatement. I was very, very disappointed in that. Mostly because I didn't even get a chance. Because like, it's one thing when I'm mad at myself. It's another thing when you're mad at your friends. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was a doozy. That was a big snake too, man. Jesus. That was a big snake. But very cool snake. Because it's funny, like you talk to people in the Sandhills in Florida, they're like, "Man, coach whips, I don't even stop for coach whips." For us, it's like you don't see coach whips.
Yeah.
I've been here for 20. I've lived here. I'm 29. I've lived here for 28 years. Never seen a coach whip a single time other than that. Yeah. Like they're not a snake that's just out and about here, so it was still cool. After I calmed down, I got to appreciate actually seeing it and all that. But
it's a good spot. I want to go back.
Yeah, I might go this weekend if you want to go.
I don't think I have anything going on.
Jealous. I'm so jealous.
You got to come down, man.
Dude, don't tempt me because I will literally hop on the first plane and go out there. Dude, I've been on like a big herping thing, like adding, like I love keeping snakes. Like I'm always going to keep snakes, but it's like I got to the point in my snake keeping career where it's like, I don't need to add more stuff. It's like, let's go find some stuff. So me and my buddy, I was telling you guys, we're gonna head out to the western side of PA and go hunt some timbers next week. So those are gonna be my first like mountain timbers, and like I'm super hyped. So hopefully I can, there's some other spots I want to hit. I'd love to do like a Texas trip someday, an Arizona trip.
Dude, you got to do West Texas.
Dude,
I got to do West Texas again. I've been saying it since we got back like 5 years ago. Like, I got to go back.
Oh, you guys haven't been back since then?
No, I haven't. I think Phil has at least once.
Yeah,
but I have not.
I've never been. So, but if you ever get a hair and you wanna come herp South Carolina, man, just let me know. I got a couch.
Absolutely.
Arizona's on the list too, man. Arizona.
Me and Jack have decided Arizona 2026 is happening.
Nice.
Him and I are gonna plan the days, and him and I are gonna go, and it's gonna be one of those things. We're gonna tell our buddies when we're going, and if you want to go, come on. But other than that, I've been talking about Arizona for so long. I need to
start planning for Costa Rica in January.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Because Olson and Oakdahl and Andy Middleton, they went last year, and I got invited on that trip, but I was made aware of it fairly short notice and didn't have enough time to stash money away for it. But they were like, we're probably going to go again at the same time next year. And I was like, that I can work with. So,
yeah.
And they found Bushmasters and all kinds of stuff. So,
yeah, my buddy Andrew, who I go herping with, he finds like Bushmasters out in Peru with anacondas and all that crazy stuff. So, never know. I'm aiming to go out there, towards the end of January. He's leading like an expedition out there, and dude, if I can find even like a red tail boa, it'd be like so awesome, because like we don't have that stuff here. Like,
I'm with it, man. Like just last year, me and Sky went to the Everglades and we got a small berm, but like it's just so weird, dude, catching something like that. Like,
here, yeah,
right. Like getting, it would be so much better like going somewhere that it was native, obviously, because
it's like the retics in Puerto Rico. Like I totally want to go to Puerto Rico and find some retics.
Dude, are you kidding me?
It's America, basically. It's like, why take a 20-hour plane ride and go through hell when I can take a 2.5-hour plane ride from Jersey and be in Puerto Rico and hopefully find some retics.
Which I didn't even realize that was a thing until recently. Like the fact that retics are becoming as much of a thing there as they are. Like I remember hearing stuff in the past and thinking like, oh, okay, like 1 or 2 retics, like they found some. Like, it's like, no, there's like straight up some retics in freaking Puerto Rico. Like and I think I saw a video a couple weeks ago. They found like a morph of some sort. It was like
there's somewhere that I want to say there's somewhere that albinos are very common.
In Puerto Rico, yeah. I think they're amels, like the white phase. They're like amels. Yeah, they're out.
Like just as common as the normals, like type shit.
It's wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, do we have any closing remarks? We're past 2 hours at this, so anything to close this thing out?
I don't think so.
Cool, man. Well, thank you very much, man, for coming on and joining us. I know we've been trying to plan this for a few weeks now, so glad we made it happen. And man, we gotta herp together sometime, man.
Dude, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I'm pushing that for everybody, man. I'm like, if somebody even likes herping, just let me know. We'll go. I don't care. Like, meet up somewhere, come by me, I'll come to you, whatever. I definitely want to herp the Jersey Pine Barrens.
Oh yeah, dude. Whenever you want, let us know. I'm more than happy to host you. Like, it's and all the guys, they usually go out after Carpet Fest too. So it's like you get a group and y'all go down, you get covered in ticks, but you might find some cool stuff. So it's all worth it.
We're not one of those people that like ticks. Like it's like, oh, here's another tick on me. Like,
probably got some on me right now, and I don't even know it.
Ticks are such a common thing. This is a side story, but I was out on, so our county is made up of islands essentially, and our beach is on an island called Hunting Island. I was out there herping years and years ago, and
Tick City.
Not only Tick City, do y'all have seed ticks up there?
Are those chiggers? We got chiggers. Are they
chiggers?
This is another one of the other layers of hell.
So we have regular ticks that you would see in like a 1 or 2 on
Ear
you.
ticks.
And we have chiggers, which you can't see. Then we have seed ticks, which are
a combination of the two.
They're bigger than a chigger, is in the fact that you can see them, but they will infest you like chiggers. And I was out there herping, and I was like, I kept itching my foot, and I was like, man, my foot keeps itching, man. Like, what's going on? So I stopped on this trail, took my shoe off, took my sock off, and lo and behold, I had a couple hundred of these little tiny seed, just black dots all over both of my feet. It was so bad. To get them off, I had to use my pocket knife and scrape them off of my feet.
You didn't have the heart to tell him it's herpes.
Dude, it looked like it afterwards, because like my feet were covered in welts. I still, to this day, you can see the scars that they left on my feet when my feet get cold and kind of get that purpley.
Get a giant bucket of like acetone and just stand in it.
Dude,
at that point, you know.
Yeah. It was a freaking nightmare, dude. Like, I felt like I was in a horror movie. The only time that was worse was I was on an island out here on a WMA. I went to go take a piss in the woods, and I got swarmed by yellow flies, and to the point to where I couldn't even take a piss. Like, they were just covered me, and I was like, I'm gonna die.
He pissed himself and he ran.
No, I just held it, dude. It was horrible. Yellow flies and seed ticks are the worst things.
Are those the same thing as like horse flies?
Yellow flies are kind of like horse flies, but they swarm a lot more. You get them in bigger numbers. Horse flies are like kind of like a deer tick versus a seed tick. You know, like yellow flies, you have a lot of. Horse flies is just kind of one that follows you and bothers you.
When we were at that rattlesnake talk a couple weeks ago, and that freaking one horse fly just got me on the back of the calf, it was like I got shot. It was like,
dude, it feels like you're getting shot with like an airsoft gun, dude. Like,
I swatted him and killed him. Stood over it victorious and stared at his body.
But all that to say is we are very accustomed to bugs here. So the pine barrens will not bother me. I can assure you that. Ticks are a common occurrence here.
It's like a souvenir. That's the way I see it.
It's also hilarious when people come from an area that
keeps on giving.
It's so funny when people come down here from an area that doesn't have ticks and they freak out, and you're like, dude, just pluck it off. It's fine. Like, just keep going. They're like, no, like it's I'm gonna tell a side story about my buddy Jack. He's from South Carolina. He's from the upstate, but he had never gotten a tick on him, I guess. And he was herping with us last year, and he got a tick like on his shoulder, and he was like, oh my God, I've got a tick. Somebody light a cigarette. And we were like, why? He was like, you have to burn it off. I said, bro, I was like, bro, just pluck that fucker off. Like, it's fine. What do you mean? He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He goes, what about the head? I was like, you only have to worry about the head sticking in you if that sucker's been on you for 2 days, bro. Like, you're good. Just pluck it off.
Dude, that's hilarious.
It was funny. But at the same
on me the other day,
time,
I put it in the ashtray and I burned it with my torch.
At the same time, I had the thought later. I was like, man, that was the one time I could have just burned that fucker with a cigarette for no reason.
Just my chance to be like, dude, hold still. We gotta hit it 3 times to make sure we get it off. Do it 5 for good measure.
Like permanently scar him.
Yeah, right.
Like, hit it once and be like, oh shit, it moved, and hit it again, even though like, just keep hitting him with it. Like,
the head's still there.
Quick.
It's like, holy crap, we gotta light another one.
I got
oh my God, it's under the skin. It's like one of those scarabs from the Mummy. Hold still.
Anyways, this has been episode 223 of the Herpetoculture podcast. As always, it was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out for the best PVC reptile racks and cages in the market. Check them out. Use code THN25 to save you a little bit off the top. as well as Steve Snaketuary and Steve Snaketuary Venom Hot Sauce. Check him out. Get all of his lineup of hot sauce. If you are a hot sauce fan, you will love it. And you're left with a pretty cool souvenir after the fact because all of his bottles have cool little pictures on them, and you can save them up, put them in your snake room. And
Louisiana.
That's right. He's got all the goods, so definitely check him out, and you will not be disappointed with either product. So, thank you very
FullViewsApparel.com.
I forgot about Fulvius.
Use code DHN to check out. Get 15% off your order. I have this really nice Carhartt backpack that I'm going to do a giveaway on at some point. I just haven't had the energy to set it up on Instagram. Speaking of, Joan, if people want to follow you, and stay in the loop,
for sure. If anybody wants to, talk snakes, talk herping, hit me up on Instagram, Blackfish Herpetoculture. You can find me on Facebook. Always down to talk snakes, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah.
Just out of curiosity, where did the Blackfish name come from? Because I like that.
Yeah, so it's a little deep one. So I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and in Game of Thrones, there's a character called Brendan Tully. Brendan Tully, you know how people say like, "Oh, you're the black sheep of the family, right? Like you're just different from everybody else."
Yeah.
His family sigil is a fish, so he was like, "No, I'm not a black sheep. I'm a black fish." And so I kind of felt like the black sheep of my family because like nobody keeps reptiles but me. Yeah. So that's a very fitting name.
I like it. I like that. I always thought it was cool because I followed you for quite a while, or at least I've heard of you. I think I follow you on Instagram. I got it.
We talked about gray rats before.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I've always liked the name Blackfish, so that's cool. I like that. Awesome. Well, check out Joan and talk herping, talk carpets, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be back Monday for Snakes and Stogies or not, because I don't know. I need to check in on Phil and see where he's at and what's been going on. But I believe Arachnids is supposed to happen next week. Don't quote me on that.
Well,
so next week is TBD.
Something you can bet on is Flippin' 10 happening next Thursday. So get your field herping fix in with Flippin' 10. We're 20 something episodes deep now. I think we're going on 27. Yeah.
27 or 28.
So definitely get your fill of field herping if that's your thing. We're live every other Thursday as long as schedules work out. We have an Instagram page. Follow us there. Keep updated on what's going on.
Send in your stuff.
Yeah, right.
Send your pictures, write-ins.
Give us your write-ins, man. We're getting more and more every week. I love it. My page was blown up the other day with a bunch of write-ins. So it's getting deep into herping season for everybody in the country. So keep them coming, and we will certainly highlight you on the podcast. So
awesome. Everyone have a good evening. We will see you later.
Everybody.